Just accept it. You're not finding any more favorite books this year. You've tried, you've failed, get over it. Now make the video.
Welcome to the first day of this hopefully 7-day series. Today I'm going to be covering my favourite books 2022. I was hoping I'd find another one before the end of the year. Didn't seem to be happening, so I just thought I'd make this video. If by some reason the last couple of books I read this year become a favourite, I'm going to be very annoyed at myself. Let's just go through the top 9, I'm sorry there are 9, it annoys me too, books that I read this year. It's a very bad reading year for me. I did not read a lot of books that I liked. Very few books blew me away, and even the ones that I like on this list probably won't be all-time favourites, they're probably just favourites of the year. Anyway, without further ado, let's go through number 9. Middle Game by Sean Maguire. This is quite a difficult book to explain. It's about alchemy and these twins, Roger and Dodger, that have been created. I finally found a book by Sean Maguire that I absolutely loved. I've liked her other stuff before, but this was really good. I'm really happy I read this. I thought the characters were written so well. I thought the plot was very interesting. It kind of just has all the ingredients for me to really enjoy a book, but being said, I sort of do have some criticisms of it. I do feel like the plot could have done a little bit more, but I still think for what it was really good, and I had an incredible time. I stayed up late reading this, and that's when you know a book is good, when I do that. We have number 8, which is Lake Law by Anne-Marie McLemore, who writes loads and loads of just really whimsical magical realism stories. It's got a fantastic cover, and it's got an equally fantastic writing and just sort of vibes. If you like no plot, just vibes, this is for you. It's higher up on this list because I just don't think it will stick with me that much, but I still thoroughly enjoy my time. And if you need any more encouragement, it's quite short as well, it's under 300 pages. Number 7 on this list is Freshwater by Akiko Emezi. This is the only book I really loved by them. This is kind of a literary fiction, but it's also magical realism. Once again, it's quite difficult to explain. I'd kind of picture it as weirdness, but commercial weirdness, because I feel like a lot of people could enjoy it. It's not the weirdness of Bunny, which you will see later on this list, that I think is very niche. I think a lot of people will enjoy this. This is about a woman who she has like separate selves, kind of born from trauma that she's experienced. Once again, it's really, really short. I really admire Akiko Emezi's ability to write some really complete characters and worlds within such a small page count. I think that's a real skill that I just don't really see with a lot of other authors. I've kind of had a mixed relationship with their other books, but I really like this one. Number 6 is Bunny by Mona Awad. This is a completely crazy book. You will not know what is going on. I still don't really know what went on. I would love to reread it at some point because this is incredibly difficult to explain. It's kind of like a cult book, but it's not your traditional cult book. It's just really weird. It's about this girl who goes to Warren University. Nice little link to the title, and she kind of gets entranced by this group of young women called the Bunnies. They have like these weird parties and they eat loads of weird mini cupcakes. It's incredibly bizarre. Easily one of the weirdest books I've ever read. Number 5 is a pretty easy, safe choice for me. This is the second book in the, I think it's called the Supernatural Investigations series by B.B. Alston. It's about this girl called Amari who gets this invitation to the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and she kind of becomes like a magical secret agent while trying to track down her brother that's gone missing. This is the second book, so obviously can't really give a detailed plot summary because of spoilers. I always find that second books in series are dodgy because kind of go one of two ways. They either are just like a bridge book to the last book, or they kind of just set up a cliffhanger. This kind of did set up a cliffhanger, but it did things I didn't expect. It didn't necessarily go the way that I thought it would, which I always like it when books do that. But also this world is just so good, and I kind of wish there were more books. I love our main characters as well. I like Amari, but I think my favourite character is Elsie, who's kind of her friend. Number 4 is another incredibly whimsical book. This is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It is kind of about a circus, but at the same time, the circus is just a setting for the whimsical magicalness of this story. It doesn't really have a plot, even though it kind of seems like it does. The fact that this was set at a circus really didn't appeal to me, but it's kind of not even about that much. It jumps from sort of the 1890s to the early 20th century. It's also a non-linear format, which is another thing I love. So this book just really worked for me. Okay, number 3 is Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mitsuki Sugimura. I initially didn't think this would make it onto the favorites list because I thought I would read other things that would overtake it. I thought it wouldn't be that memorable for how much I enjoyed it, but it was. This book is about a girl called Kokoro. She's been bullied at school and she's kind of dropped out because she just can't handle it. You know, she's really lonely. She doesn't really have any friends, but then her mirror glows and she's taken to this magical castle. There's a plot about a hidden room where one of them will receive a wish, but they don't really want to find this room because that means the castle and their friendship will just kind of be stopped in its tracks, because once the wish is granted, the castle just closes down and they can't access it, essentially. As someone who has dealt with friendship issues, I just thought it was really good. I really connected to that whole narrative. It really just worked for me, and I knew it would when I heard what it was about. Number 2 is probably the biggest surprise on this list. It's difficult to explain the effect this book had on me. Initially I read it, I enjoyed it, but that was about it. But it lingered for me. It really did. Look, far after I read it, I was still thinking about it. But this book is literary fiction, which I did not think I enjoyed, but I do. It's also quite simply written, which is not something I tend to gravitate towards. I don't know what Sally Rooney did, but it did something for me. I think a large part of the reason I enjoyed this was because I could relate to the main character, which I don't think was a good thing. I don't think it says good things about my personality and who I am. This book did something. I have difficulty articulating it into words, but I think once I've read a lot of literary fiction, I don't think I will love this as much. It's also not something I would necessarily recommend. It just, for me personally, I really enjoyed it, and that's why it's on this list. And finally, my favourite book of the year. Babel by R.F. Kuang. I made a really bad reading vlog. Like, the reading vlog bit was fine, but the review was bad. You didn't really understand how much I enjoyed this book, but everyone has been enjoying this book this year. How do I pitch this? This is about Robin, who is taken from his settlement in Canton in China. He's sent to England and basically forced to work for the British Empire.
Yep, it's about colonialism.
He goes to Oxford University. That's where it's set. I saw someone saying, oh, it's set in London. It's not set in London. If you're not from Europe, quite a lot of people think that the only settlement in England is London, which is not true. It's set in Oxford. It's a lot about languages. If you're not interested in languages, I wouldn't recommend picking this up because it's a lot of the book. I think the way R.F. Kuang managed to critique the whole dark academia and overworked student aesthetic, is it aesthetic? Was really well done. She managed to keep an air of suspense throughout the whole thing. I knew that everything that had been built up was just all going to crumble at some point, and that was just what really kept me reading. I think R.F. Kuang is a fantastic writer, and this only proves how good she is. But that is everything. Those are all the books that I really enjoyed in their kind of loose ranking, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed I'm not very good at talking about books. I mean, I'm not really used to it. I haven't been doing it for a very long time, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Subscribe, please. My voice is getting wrecked.